So we're told that x is 2t and y is 1/3 of t. I feel like I can infer a ratio of x to y. I can certainly say which of them is farther away from 0, because the distance of x from 0 is twice the distance of t from 0, and the distance of y from 0 is only 1/3 of the distance of t from 0. So we could actually say that x is 6 times as far from 0 as y is. In other words, we can infer the ratio of x to y is 6 to 1. Maybe we can keep t in there as well, so we'd say x to t to y is 6 to 3 to 1. Now, if coming up with that ratio is challenging for you, try to do it in separate steps. Start with that fraction, right? We know that y is 1/3 of t. So start with just that and say, if y is 1/3 of t, then let's imagine that y is 1 ratio unit, because then t would be 3 ratio units. And then we'd write our ratio as, t to y is 3 to 1. Then we look at the other part that says x is 2t, and we look at our ratio and we say, well, I have 3 ratio units for t, so that would mean that x has 6 ratio units because x is twice as big as t is. Now the question wants to know the difference of squares, right? X squared minus y squared. And it's worth noting that the answer to the question only requires us to know how far away from 0 x and y are. We don't actually care which side of 0 they're on, because once you square them, they're going to be to the right of 0 no matter what. So whenever a GMAT question, especially a data sufficiency GMAT question, is asking for some combination of even exponents of unknowns, I just make a mental note that I don't care which side of 0 these unknowns are on. Let's go ahead and evaluate the statements right after the intro. So these statements actually seem somewhat straightforward compared to the free info and the question stem. And it does seem like the statements give very similar types of information because they're both talking about t. In fact, I wonder if one of these statements maybe can be implied from the other statement. I mean, if we know statement 2, for example, we can infer that t is -3, because you take the cube root of each side and you don't need to worry about absolute values because that exponent is odd. And with statement 1, if we add 3 to both sides, it's just saying that t squared is 9. Here we would need an absolute value, and we take the square root of both sides because that's an even exponent, and we find out that the absolute value of t is 3, meaning that t is 3 units away from 0, so it could either be +3 or -3. And I'm thinking, well, if statement 2 already tells me that t is -3, what value is statement 1 adding? I mean, if you already knew that my height is 172 centimeters, and then I play a guessing game with you and I say, hey, guess what? I'm either 162 centimeters or 172 centimeters. But you already knew that I'm 172 centimeters. Did I really add any value when I told you that I'm either 162 centimeters or 172 centimeters? You already know how tall I am. So I look in the same way at statements 2 and 1 here, where statement 2 tells me exactly what the value of t is. Statement 1 says, hey, guess what? T is either 3 or -3. That doesn't add any value. So as I explain in the second section of my book, which you can actually read for free on quantreasoning.com, we can go ahead and eliminate answer choices A and C without even reading the question. Statement 1 adds no value whatsoever above and beyond statement 2, so we can eliminate 2 answer choices, again, without even reading the question. That's amazing. So now let's focus on just statement 1, the weaker of the 2 statements. I mean, if that one is sufficient on its own, statement 2 will obviously be sufficient on its own because it's telling us everything that statement 1 had to offer and then some. So let's see, if statement 1 is sufficient on its own, the correct answer must be D. What does statement 1 tell us? It says essentially that t is either 3 or negative 3. Going back to our ratio, we can infer that then x is either 6 or negative 6, and y is either 1 or negative 1. Do we care which side of 0 x and y are on? No. The question wants to know the difference of squares. So whether x is 6 or negative 6, x squared will be 36. Whether y is 1 or negative 1, y squared will be 1. So either way, x squared minus y squared would be 36 minus 1 is 35. And we were able to do that with just statement 1 on its own. So the correct answer here is D. If you found this video useful, go to quantreasoning.com for a lot more where that came from. You should also click that like button and let me know in the comments below what you'd like me to make future videos about. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do that and click that bell below so you get notified about future videos. See you next time.